So, the last week on Wednesday, okay, your Joint Chief Admiral Marin, announced the new national defense strategy, right? You know that, okay? And in the strategy, which area is most important? That is Asia Pacific. Okay, there is a reason. As the doctor mentioned, there are a lot of problems, a lot of dispute, but it is kind of, the area is a kind of locomotive for the world economy, right? Okay, so how we can stabilize the area or the region is very important. But before thinking of the way to stabilize the area, maybe we need to know the security environment. Okay? And today, I'm going to talk about the security environment for Japan. So that is Japanese perspective. Okay? Maybe there are many actors in the region, like China, or Russia, North Korea, South Korea, Taiwan, Philippines, India, blah, blah. So they also has another idea. Okay? But maybe, because Japan is one of the most important allies for United States, maybe, thinking of the Japanese perspective is very useful for you. Okay? Now, before jumping in the main topics, okay, I'm sure how much you know about Japan. Okay? So, Japan? Japan is here, right? Okay? It's very famous. Now, sorry, in the map, there is no United States. Okay? But, because I enlarged, I have no intention about that. Okay? I just enlarged the map. Okay? And so I enlarged this area. Okay? The first question for you is, okay? So between Tokyo and Seattle, the distance is 4,159 nautical miles. Okay? Between Okinawa to Guam, that is 1,200 nautical miles. Okay, now this city is Vladivostok. Okay? So major Russian naval base. And this city, maybe you don't know, but the city is Maizuru. There is a major Japanese naval base. Okay? And this city is Sasebo. There are our naval base as well as US naval base. Okay? If you like to be Marine Corps, okay, that your amphibious force, so their home port is Sasebo. Okay? Anyway, here is Okinawa, and this is Shanghai. There are, there is near Shanghai, there is a major Chinese base for Chinese East Sea Fleet. Okay, so the question is, so what the distance between these cities? Okay, what distance between these cities? So please raise a hand if you think that is, closer than 500 nautical miles. Okay. So please raise a hand. That is farther than 500 nautical miles. Okay. So anyway, maybe someone doesn't raise a hand. Yeah. That is good strategy. when you ask some question by the faculty. Anyway, so okay. So the distance is less than 500 nautical miles. Okay. But this distance is between cities, right? So that's why, actually, the closest part of these, closest part between Japan, right? The closest part between, between continent and Japan is less than 400 miles. Just remember the number, less than 400 nautical miles, okay? And because of this distance, okay, maybe you may think this is very far. You may think very near, very close. Okay, actually, this is very close because, because of this distance. So fighter bomber can reach to Japan, okay, within 2 hours from continent, right? Okay, if you will be the surface warfare officer, if you sprint your destroyer, okay, within 20 hours, you can reach to Japan. Okay, that is very close. So next question is, please imagine size of Japan. Okay, I put Japan here. Okay, just off Annapolis. Okay, but actually the scale for Japan and the scale for Kaunas is different. Okay, so the first, please imagine your states. Okay, so which states is almost almost same size of as Japan? Some say California. Okay, Montana. Okay, I got it. Okay, so you are so smart students. Okay, so in many cases, California is usually used as an example, to compare with Japan. But Montana is much closer to Japan. But anyway, California, Montana is good. Okay. Okay. Something like that. Okay. This is the size of California. This is the size of Japan. Okay. Sorry, I'm using metrics. Okay. I don't like the Mile Air system anyway. So now the population is like that. Okay. So next question. If I put very northern part of Japan onto this part of the United States, where the very southern, not very, the southern part of Japan's main island can reach, where? Texas? Okay, that's great. Okay. So something like that. Okay? But in this case, I don't use this part actually. There is Okinawa's. Okay? So if I add the Okinawa, the very end tip, southern tip of the Okinawa can reach to the southern border of Mexico. Okay. So maybe some of you think Japan is a very small country. Yes, it is, if compared with some European country, Japan is still big. But compared with the United States, Japan is a small country. Okay. However, just talking about the length, okay, Japan is very long. Okay. So Japan is a very long and thin country, and which is located nearby continent. So that means Japan has vulnerability. That is lack of strategic depth. Okay, lack of strategic depth. If you have big landmass, okay, you can welcome your enemy, okay, and you can make the enemy exhaust. Does that make sense? Okay, but Japan has not such a big landmass. Okay, so it is very vulnerable. Also, Japan is located on the fault line between major powers. Does that make sense? Okay, in East Asia, there are major powers like Russia, okay, and China. Maybe Japan itself is major power, and also United States is kind of major power, okay, in the region. But Japan is located on the fault line of the powers. So with lack of the strategic depth and located on the kind of fault line, so Japan is strategically very, very vulnerable. Okay. And I have another thing. I said Japan is small, okay, but another problem is Japan is very mountainous. Okay, very mountainous. There are very, very few plain land. Okay, that's why Japan's nature view is very beautiful. So I recommend you to visit Japan as a tourist. Okay, but anyway, so please imagine the percentage of the arable land. Arable land is cultivatable land. Okay. So Japanese arable land is just 12%. Okay. And if I calculate the per capita, much smaller than China or much smaller than United States. That means to feed this big population, we have to import the many food from other country. Okay, so for example, wheat. Okay, Japan is rely on other country for wheat. Okay, 60% wheat. Okay, and 60% of the wheat come from United States. About corn, almost 100%. Okay, Japan is rely on other country. Okay, but actually this is not the case just for the food, but also for the natural resource. Okay, Japan cannot produce any natural resource like oil, okay, or metals. So 99.6% of crude oil is coming from other country, okay? And 86% come from Middle East. That is just one example, okay? So that means Japan is really highly depending on the other country for its resource to maintain or to feed the country, okay? And that means Japan is highly dependent on the slugs. Have you ever heard the term slugs? Slugs is very important term for the naval officers. Slugs is sea line of communications. Sea line of communications. Now, okay, actually what I have talked so far is inherent condition or characteristic for the Japanese national security. Okay. When we think of national security, maybe we have to think of two things. One is its own static factors, okay, or inherent characteristic, right? Okay. And we need to think of strategic environment. That is dynamic factor. Dynamic factor. Okay. So I'm going to talk about this dynamic factor, but to understand the impact of the dynamic factor, okay, I would like you to understand the Japanese inherent characteristics. That's why I explained that at the very beginning of this talk. Okay. And the dynamic factor is also divided into the three parts. The first one is international or global level. Okay. Another one is regional level. And lastly, the domestic level. Today I don't touch about the domestic level. Okay, I explain about international level a little bit, and then I proceed to regional issues. Now, the last December, one very important document was issued. That is Japanese document. Okay, that is National Defense Program Guideline. Okay. So National Program Defense Guideline is the basic principles of Japan's security policy and the basic guideline for Japan's defense capability in the future. Okay. And National Defense Program Guideline, or NDPG, were formulated 3 times in past. The first one was made in 1976. Okay. And the second one is 95, third one is 04, and the last one, the newest one, was issued 2010. Okay. The notable thing is the period between those documents. Okay. The first and second, that is 19 years, and then 9 years, and then 6 years. Okay. That means, so international security environment is getting through flags, how flags the international security environment is for Japan. Okay. So talking about international level national security environment. Okay. At first, we need to think of the structure of the power distribution. Under the Cold War, the structure was, do you know, what kind of structure under Cold War? That is bipolar system, right? Okay. So two superpowers confronted with each other, right? What is the two superpowers? One is United States. Okay, the other one, China. No, it's the Soviet Union. Someone say China. Okay, okay. Under Cold War. Okay, okay. Before you're born, right? Okay, I was a very young ensign, almost end of the Cold War. But anyway, so bipolar system is ruled by the two superpowers, which are the United States and the Soviet Union. Okay, actually that was a very stable system. Okay, and after Soviet Union collapsed, okay, the people believe the structure became the unipolar system. In this case, single superpower ruled all over the world. Okay, what is a single superpower? That is United States. Okay, and somehow it was true. Okay, but just one decade after, okay, the power distribution, has changed to from unipolar system to somehow multipolar system. Okay, and under multipolar system, okay, still United States is strongest country. Okay, however, sometimes U.S. cannot achieve its own goal by itself, right? Sometimes U.S. need to help from other country, or sometimes U.S. attempt could be prevented by other rising power, like emerging regional power, China, India, or the Russia reviving from the stagnation. Okay, and the other thing is, so world became to the multipolar with interdependence, particularly economy. Okay, so each country interdependent with each other, right? Okay, so what country is biggest trade partner for your country? Which one? I can hear you. Yes, China. Okay, what country is biggest trade partner for Japan? Okay, that's China. Okay, so anyway, of course, Japan has a lot of trade partner, okay, because high dependency on other country, but some may say China is kind of very, very critical concern for us, but China, Japan, China, U.S., or China, Japan, and the United States, depending on each other. That's the interdependence. Okay. And under this power distribution structure, we have a lot of new threats, like ballistic missile or international terrorism and so on. And also we have transnational problem, okay, like piracy, pandemic, poverty, environment. New threat and the transnational factor is somehow similar, but difference is new threat has some political objective, right? Terrorists, they have political objective, okay? But the pirates, they have no political objectives, okay? They like to get big money. They like to earn the big money for their life, right? So, but anyway, in the case of new threat, in the case of transnational factor, both of them is, again, transnational concern. Okay. So under multipolar world, we have to deal with these transnational problem. Okay. Because if we cannot deal with them successfully, the international system will be very unstable. Okay. So therefore, okay, anyway. Now we have a big transnational problem. Okay. So I show you the kind of map about instability. Okay. And the country highlighted by orange, those countries has some dispute with neighbors. Okay. And red spot means the kind of the piracies, and yellow spot is piracy attempted. Okay. So that means this area is very, very unstable. Okay. And as I mentioned, Japan depends on slugs, right? I show you the Japanese slug. This is Japanese slugs. You can see that. Okay. If I overlap this Japanese slug with the previous screen, something like that. Okay. Actually, our lifeline passed through inside of this very unstable area, right? Okay. But under multipolar system with transnational problem, okay, the first challenge is how to make the international system stable. Maybe only answer is the kind of multilateral scheme to deal with this problem is crucial, right? Okay, that is the first challenge. Now, I proceed to the regional level, the national security environment. Okay. So, when I overlook the all over our region, Northeast Asia, okay, you know, do you know when Cold War ended? 1991? It's almost close, but some may say 89. Okay, 1989 is, okay, congratulations. So 1989 is the year of Cold War end. Okay, so already, okay, since the end of the Cold War, already we have 2 decades, but still in this region, there is the structure of the Cold War. Okay? As you know, we have Korean Peninsula. Also, we have Taiwan Strait, okay? PRC and ROC. Okay? People's Republic of China and the Republic of China. Okay? Those structure is a really Cold War structure. Okay? And also, in this area, okay, there are a lot of traditional source of international conflict. So what is traditional source of international conflict? Do you know what is a typical source of the conflict between countries? Excuse me? I can't hear. Land, territory, land. Resources? Yes. Okay. Okay, so territorial dispute, okay, that's a typical, and the resource is also typical a source of the conflict. Okay. There is a lot of territorial dispute, including EEZ. Okay. So do you know what is EEZ? Exclusive Economic Zone. Okay, exclusive economic zone is the sea area, okay, ocean area, 2,000 nautical miles from coastline. Okay. For this area, the coastal country have sovereignty over economic issue to develop something, or fishing, okay, or taking the natural resource from the bottom of the sea. Okay. That is EEZ. But in the EEZ, the freedom of navigation is confirmed or is open for any country. But the problem, there are these problems. Okay? But the problem is there is no capable regional organization to deal with such a difficulty. Okay? Because this region is culturally, religiously, or politically very diverse. It is very difficult to establish the kind of very, very effective, capable international scheme to deal with this problem. Okay? So this is this region. And also, if we look at particular country, we have some country with concern. Okay? That is Chinese military expansion, or North Korea, and the Russian revival. Okay? So let's examine a little bit detail. Well, not little, more detail. Okay. So about traditional conflict. These are major conflicts or major dispute over the territory. Okay. So with China and East Asian country, there is two problems. The one is Paracel Island dispute. Another one is Spratly Island dispute. Okay, since 1950s. And also Japan has three territorial issues with neighbors. Okay, one is Northern Island with Russia. Another one is Takeshima Island with Korea. Last one is Senkaku Island, okay, with China. Okay. And also Japan has kind of dispute over EEZ with China in the East China Sea. Of course, in South China Sea, okay, the Southeast Asian country has a dispute with China. Okay. So Northern Ireland issue, okay, that is, okay, this is kind of Northern Islands. Okay, this island was occupied by Red Army of the Soviet Union, okay, after World War II. Okay, so after August 28th to the September 5th, okay, you know, World War II was ended, okay, on August 15th, right? Okay, but 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks later, the Red Army landed this island, and since then, Russia occupied that. And just a couple of days ago, Russian president declared to strengthen the armed force stationing there. Okay, but anyway, so this is kind of one dispute. Okay. And the next one is Takeshima Island. Okay. So that is with Korea. Okay. So in 1952, the Korea, actually, you know, at this time, Japan was still under control of the United States. Japan did not recover the sovereignty. Okay, so during the time, the Korean president, a recent man, draws the kind of line, okay, on the sea, okay, to ensure their right to fish. Okay, and the Takeshima was used as a reference island to draw the line. Okay, and since then, the South Korea has controlled this island. Okay. And lastly, the Senkaku Island. So this island is a part of Okinawa. Okay. So Okinawa was returned to Japan by the United States in 1972. Okay. Before that, the United States ruled this island. And when United States returned the island to Japan, since then, Japan controlled this island. But this island is claimed by the China and the Taiwan. Okay? So the trigger of that is in 1969 and the 70s, the UN declared the kind of possible deposit for the natural resource around this island. And since then, the PRC and the ROC began to claim the island. Okay. And recently, the last September, okay, you know, the Chinese fisher trawler rammed, you know, collided on Japanese Coast Guard cutters. Okay. There are many tension. There are very high tension in this area. Okay. But so among these three territorial issues, okay, only Senkaku Island is controlled by Japan right now. Okay. And another issue is EEZ. Okay. So at the very beginning, I asked you the distance between Japan and other country, right? And the closest part is less than 400 miles, right? Okay. So, and I said the distance of EEZ is 200 nautical miles. Okay. So the question is, how we can decide the border of the EEZ between Japan and China in East China Sea. Okay. Well, how you can decide that? Please give me good idea. Half. So middle line. Okay, thank you. Okay, right now Japan owe you that. Okay, so Japan owe you the middle line. Like, oh, it's very difficult to move. Like here. Okay, but actually China claimed this yellow line is border. Okay, just before Okinawa Islands. Okay, there is there is kind of theory to claim that. That is the so-called continental shelf theory. Okay, China is a continent country, right? Okay, and there, in the bottom of the ocean, there is a continental shelf, kind of shallow water. Okay, and China argued that sea over the continental shelf should be EEZ for the coastal country. Okay, actually we have a treaty to define the EEZ. The treaty, clearly ruled out that, but China still claim, or still argue the theory. Okay, so the idea is completely different between China and Japan, or U.S. and Japan. Okay, so and we have other problem. Okay, that is really center of the China Sea. There are oil fields and gas field. Okay, and the blue line is Japan-China middle line. That is the kind of border, okay, which is claimed by Japan for the EEZ. Okay, and China, start the developing the oil field, okay, nearby this line. Okay, and there are many. And some problem is some oil field very close to the middle line, okay, is spread between Japanese side and Chinese side. Okay, so that is one of the source of conflict. Okay, and Japan proposed to China to develop this area, jointly, because this oil field is overlap for both sides. But for China, okay, China is argued the border should be far away, right? Therefore, for the China, it is not reasonable proposal. Okay, and then Japanese the government decided to deploy the kind of survey ship. We don't dig the rig, okay, but we deploy the kind of survey ship. Okay, but the ship is harassed by Chinese naval ship and also Chinese Coast Guard ship right now. Okay. So that is kind of problem. Okay. So there are many traditional sources of the conflict, okay, particularly with China. Okay. And this time we have very critical concern about Chinese military expansion right now. So this graph shows the trend of Chinese military budget expansion. Okay. This is according to Chinese governmental official data. Okay. So for consecutive 22 years, the Chinese military budget has been grown, okay, with more than 10%. Okay, 10% growth means, within 5 years, okay, the military budget can be 2 times or 2 doubled, right? Does that make sense? It's very, very fast military expansion. Okay. And other problem is, as I mentioned, this data is basing on the Chinese official announcement. Okay? But this budget does not include some part of the defense spending. For example, every year, China launched hundreds of middle-range ballistic missiles, okay, as a test and training. Okay? And it was conducted by 2nd Artillery Corps. Okay, that's kind of strategic force. The budget for the strategic force is still veiled. That means this budget does not include the budget for the 2nd Artillery Corps. Okay, so can you imagine? You have a Stratcom, right? Strategic Command. Okay, your military budget, which is open for the public, okay, include the budget for the Stratcom, right? In the case of China, okay, the budget for the Stratcom is not included, okay, included in the official announcement, okay, and we have such we have such an untransparency about Chinese military budget, but we can say the Chinese military quickly expanding. Okay. And this is Chinese Navy activity, okay, over East China Sea, South China Sea, and Pacific Ocean. Okay. I don't explain a lot. Okay. Since 2000, okay, the Chinese activity in the Pacific Ocean, like this area, okay, it's really, really, active. But I don't say this is illegal. Okay, this is legal. Okay, this is illegal. But China Navy became really blue water Navy, okay, and they are so capable, and also their type of operation, gradually became more aggressive year by year. So just last year, okay, our naval ship, usually when the Chinese fleet deployed to the Pacific Ocean, okay, we also deploy the kind of one destroyer to observe, okay, and usually we maintain the distance about 5 or 10 miles, okay, just watching, because sometimes they try to enter to our territory water, okay, and but last year the Chinese helicopter approached to the Japanese destroyer, okay, very close. The distance was just 150 feet. It's very close. It's almost we can touch. Okay, that is very aggressive. In 2001, in East China Sea, the U.S. Naval EP-3 was crushed by the Chinese fighter. Do you know that? You don't know? Okay, something like that is occurring in the Pacific area right now still. Okay, and their submarine force is very, very also active. Okay, I don't use any confidential data. Okay, actually I know some confidential data, but I cannot use that. Okay, I just depend on the open source. Okay, and according to some think tank, okay, the number of out-of-area patrol by the Chinese submarine seriously increased like that. This is 2009. Okay, so the out-of-area patrol means it's kind of long patrol cruise. Okay, and corresponding with this increase, this increasing, okay, we found a lot of Chinese, submarine activity. The most famous one is, one Song-class submarine surfaced nearby Kitty Fork Carrier Strike Group, okay, in 2007. Okay. So anyway, so what I like to say, Chinese naval activity is very, very active right now. And other concern is the Chinese maritime survey. Okay. So China has conducted the survey over the ocean since middle of 90s. Okay. So by the 2000, most of their effort is within East China Sea. Okay. And very beginning of the 2000s, they expand the survey area, and they start fill the gap of the survey area. Okay. So what imply their activity? Okay. Maybe these data can be used for many purposes. So one is very, most of them is very peaceful purpose. Okay, like just scientific survey. Okay, but this is also kind of purpose for the resource survey, and also this data can be used for the submarine operations. Okay, so in 2004, one Chinese nuclear submarine invaded Japanese territorial water, okay, without surfacing. Okay, and our Navy, that detected her and continued to track the submarine, okay, for the 72 hours. Okay, but the submarine has never surfaced up. Okay, and this area is very shallow, and the feature of the bottom is somehow complicated. Okay, so this instance suggests that China has very clear map of the bottom of the sea. Of course, China has very good navigation. Chinese submarine has very good navigation system, but only by such a navigation system is not good enough for the 72 hours, sailing, submerging sailing, okay, without catching any signal from a satellite. Okay, that means she has very good mapping data about South China Sea. Does that make sense? Okay. So sometimes some researchers said, that Chinese capability underlook. Chinese equipment is very obsolete, or Chinese skill is very bad. But some old equipment is true, but because of such a fast expansion, their quality has been improved so quickly, and we should not underlook their capability. So I talked about a lot of the Chinese naval activity or military expansion, and also ocean survey. Okay, why I explain that? Okay, because we have lesson learned about South China Sea. Okay, as I mentioned, there are two territorial disputes among the East, between China and the ASEAN country, right? Okay, and how China expanded in South China Sea, something like that. Okay, at first they start territorial claim, and then after U.S. withdrawal from Vietnam, they start occupy the Paracel Island. Okay, and they start conducting ocean survey, and then they deployed naval force, okay, for the purpose of the exercise. Okay. And after that, some civilian landed on some island. Okay. And if the other country try to remove the civilian from the island, okay, China began to use force against the coastal country's activity. Okay. And finally, after remove the other army or military, they construct the military base. Okay. And after that, they start propose the kind of joint development over the islands, okay, with maintaining the argument over the sovereignty of the island. Okay, that is what has happened, what has happened in the South China Sea. Okay. And this is East China Sea and Japan, East China Sea and Pacific. Okay. So they start to claim about a Senkaku Island, and they conduct the ocean survey and deploy the naval forces and start development and propose joint development. It is not completely same because in our region, or Northeast Asia, there is still US presence, right? Okay. Also, if I compare the Navy strengths, Japanese naval strengths with the Southeast Asian countries' Navy, okay, JMCDF much capable than East Asian country, right? Okay. So there is a situation is different, but somehow the approach is same. Okay. I'm not sure, how much the Chinese government organized the approach. Maybe it could be accidentally similar. I'm not sure. Okay. There is no evidence about that. Okay. But we concern about these issues. So this is a very busy slide. Okay? If I packed everything what I have talked onto one map, something like that. Okay? So this is the kind of reality of our region. Okay? And I will show some couple of the video about a very serious incident over Senkaku Island between Chinese fisher boat and our Coast Guard. And also the kind of Pentagon news about Chinese fisher boat harassment against your naval ship. Okay. Have you ever heard the story? The USS Impeccable and the USS Victorious was harassed by the Chinese fisher boat, okay, in Yellow Sea and also in South China Sea.
Now, here's your Pentagon Channel report.
There's been another incident involving a U.S. Navy ship and Chinese vessels. Defense officials say USNS Victorious was conducting routine operations last Friday in the international waters of the Yellow Sea when two Chinese fishing boats approached, coming within yards of the Navy ship. Officials say Victorious took defensive measures and sought assistance from a nearby Chinese military vessel, at which time the fishing boats moved away. This marks the second U.S. naval incident involving China in the last 2 months. In early March, defense officials say that 5 Chinese vessels shadowed and aggressively maneuvered close to USNS Impeccable. Some of those vessels got very close to the Navy ship, coming within as close as 50 feet. The U.S. filed a formal diplomatic protest in response to that incident, claiming that Impeccable was operating legally in international waters.
Two unidentified Chinese ships came dangerously close to an unarmed U.S. Navy ship in international waters last week, forcing it to take defensive maneuvers. This is the 5th case where Chinese ships have harassed U.S. naval vessels in the past 2 months. The USNS Victorious was conducting routine undersea listening operations in the Yellow Sea when it was approached repeatedly by 2 Chinese fishing ships. U.S. officials say that the Chinese ships came as close as 30 yards, one forcing the Victorious to come to a dangerous sudden stop. This is the latest incident in what appears to be a pattern of intentional harassment. The Chinese regime has in the past accused the U.S. of using U.S. ships to conduct illegal spying operations, a charge the U.S. government.
So the last September 7th, okay, so our Coast Guard cutter found Chinese fisher boat fishing nearby Senkaku Island. That is within our territorial water. Okay, and the Coast Guard cutter ordered to stop the fishing, okay? And the fisher boat, roll up the net and then start engine. And the fisher boat ran on or collide on our Coast Guard cutter and then escape. And 40 minutes later, okay, other Coast Guard cutter boat approached to the ship and ordered to stop. Okay? But the fisher boat again cried against Japanese Coast Guard cutter. And finally, the captain was arrested. But after that, Chinese government took every method to release the captain or crew. Okay? At first, okay? So it stops the export of the rare material, rare earth. It is critical material to make cell phone, hybrid car like Toyota produce. Okay? And 96% of the rare material, particularly rare earth, is produced by China. Okay? So without rare earth, not only Japan, but also United States, every country, cannot make any high-tech equipment. Okay? And then, but still, because this is a legal issue, Japan continue to custody such a crew and captain. Okay? And after that, China caught the 3 Japanese civilians who is working in China. Okay? And finally, Japan released its kind of method beyond the legal system. But Japan released the captain. Okay? So it was very serious things. But anyway.
与那国と接触した、与那国で衝突した、民進領5人7級、5人7級と会合した。ただいまの時刻1055、外線に対しライトメール。中国語による停戦命令を行うも外線停戦せず。
So maybe you may think, okay? You may think, I try to stir up your sense of crisis over China, right? Okay? But actually, it is not so simple. Okay? Yes, we are really concerned over China, but not only China. Today, because of time constraint, I don't touch about Russia. I don't touch about North Korea. Okay? We have many concerns over our neighbors. Maybe they can say, they have concern over Japan or over United States. Okay? Okay. If this is Cold War, just worrying about the other threats and just building our strong force, that's good enough, right? But nowadays, it is not so simple. Okay, of course, okay, how we can maintain the power balance, okay, with a country with concern, that is very important challenge for us. Okay? And also, how to manage the antagonism among the actors is also very important challenge. Okay? But please remind, okay, the first half of this talk, international level concern, that is transnational factors. Okay? So to deal with that, okay, maybe just facing against the country with concern is not good enough, right? Okay. So how to establish broader international cooperation, including China or including the Soviet Russia? Okay. That is also big challenge. Okay. You know, because of the interdependence, because of globalization, okay, because of transnational concern. Okay. So therefore, you know, the real challenge is, okay, we should maintain the power balance with our neighbor, okay, which enable us to prevent such a country with concern, such as China, North Korea, from adventurism. Okay, that means, you know, try to get settlement over the territorial dispute. Okay, if they have overconfidence, they may use force, or they may apply the kind of armed option. It's war. Okay, that will be nightmare. Okay, not only for us but also for them. You know, so far I said China, China, China. But what is China? You know, China is not a single person, right? There are many leaders, right? Okay, or military, civilian. There are many leaders. Okay, if some strong person or key person misunderstand something, okay, you know, they may apply some sort of adventurism option. Okay, and that will destroy such a multilateral scheme to deal with transnational problem. So while we maintain power balance, okay, and we have to invite them to our international system. Okay, so that is real challenge. Okay, and in our region, okay, so far, Japan-U.S. alliance, okay, play a big role to maintain the balance in the region. You know, maybe you may know about the kind of Okinawa basing issue. You know that? Okay, you know, and you know, yeah, it is frankly, it is kind of, you know, bad management of Japanese side of the basement issue. Okay, but we should not undermine our alliance. Again, you know, while maintaining power balance, okay, we have to invite, we have to engage these countries with concern. Okay, that is our challenge. Okay, so I stop here. Sorry, I cannot show the video. Maybe many students love videos. So now, I'd like to open the floor for the questions. So do you have any questions? Not only for this issue, but also if you like to ask anything about Japan, okay, even you know, animation, animation or pop music. Anyway. No questions? Sir.
Sir, Mission 4/1, what is the future of the Japanese Navy looking like? What new, I guess, platforms is the Japanese Navy looking to utilize, new aircraft, or things of that sort, sir?
Oh, what kind of ship?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The couple years ago, the new Japanese destroyer, okay, commissioned. Okay, so she can embark at most 11 patrol helicopters. Okay, so it seems hero carrier. Okay, that was, you know, on the video, okay, on the DVD. Okay, there are the 3 big deck, right? Okay, the 2 of them on the right side, that U.S. You know, the center was George Washington, whose home port is Yokosuka in Japan. Okay, and then the next one is maybe Essex, whose home port is Sasebo. Okay, and but the right side is Essex, and the left one is our newest destroyer. That is, you know, J.S. Hyuga. Okay, and why I said destroyer? Actually, you know about the Japanese Constitution. Okay, you know, Japanese Constitution say Japan renounced war, okay, for the purpose to to settle international dispute. In other words, we don't renounce war for the self-defense, okay? And the paragraph 2 of the Article 9 of our Constitution say, okay, to achieve the purpose of first paragraph, okay, Japan shall not maintain land, sea, and air force and other war potential. Okay, that means Japan cannot maintain the full military. Okay, but Japan can maintain the military for the purpose of self-defense. Okay, and nowadays it is not so big discussion, but when Japan starts rearming after World War II, okay, some defeatists, okay, like a socialist, a communist, okay, they kind of blamed the government about rearmament, okay, and to avoid such a discussion, okay, so Japanese government applied new word for any military things. And one example is, actually I said destroyer, but, we say goeikan in Japanese. The literary meaning of the goeikan is escort ship, okay? And any service combatant which is possessed by the JMSDF, okay, is named goeikan, another word, escort ship, okay? That's why, but there is no good English to translate goeikan, right? That's why we use a destroyer for the translation word. Okay, that's why destroyer. Okay, so anyway, but maybe you think this is, maybe you're laughing. I think you may think this is very unique for Japan, right? But not only for Japan. The former Soviet Union said the aircraft carrier was named anti-submarine warfare ship. Okay, and Thailand has aircraft carrier. Their official name is different from aircraft carrier. Okay, sometimes some countries avoid to use the name of the carrier. Does that answer for your question? So anything else? Yes, please.
Supership 4th Class Group of 3rd Company. In the event that the Chinese and Russian military threat would become too great, would there be a chance of the Japanese Maritime Force expanding to a more offensive role?
Okay, that's good questions. At first, the difficulty to answer the question is, okay, what is offensive? Okay, what is offensive? Okay. Japan has come the policy, kind of so-called pacifist policy. It's just political statement. The name is exclusively defense policy. That means Japan never used the force for the aggression. Okay, but once Japan was invaded, we have to push back. Okay, so tactically, we have a capability to attack our enemy. Okay, but strategically, our policy level, we don't apply that. Okay, so therefore, political level, okay, Japan self-defense force will not given such a kind of aggressive or aggressive mission, task. Okay, but maybe just talking about the capability or force building, okay, or force programming. Okay, if China and Russia become more and more aggressive, maybe some discussion to procure some more high-capable weapon will come up, I think. Yes. This answer for your question? Yes. Okay. So that's kind of very complicated, right? And maybe frankly, recently we have some such kind of, because of exclusively defense policy, okay, theoretically we can have the nuclear weapon, but we will not do that. However, when the North Korean crisis became really serious things, at that time there was discussion whether or not we should procure the Tomahawk missile to attack missile site of the North Korea. Okay. But finally we don't apply that. Okay. But such a discussion may be possible. Okay. And you raise a hand. Someone raise a hand. Maybe. Well, already I answered for your question. Okay. So anything else? Okay, so this is Saturday morning, and it seems you like to standing up. So anyway, so I like to finish here. So, Doctor, do you have some announcement? No. Okay. So thank you for listening. Thank you.